It's still loading. Hi,
Okay.
everybody. Welcome to Glitterati. What's going on? I've been having some technical difficulties, but here on time. So, today I have an exciting guest who's going to be talking to us about investing in Africa. This is a question I always have, and I always see going through YouTube, people have questions and they have information they need, and this is the right woman. Goddess with knowledge. I'm going to bring her up, but I want to welcome all my new subscribers from Myra's channel. Welcome. I hope you stay, love, comment, share, tell your friend about this. It's going on. So without further ado, let me bring up the Goddess of Knowledge.
Hey, it's Glitter, baby.
Okay, tell them.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me and for trusting me with your platform. I'm so excited to talk to you live while everybody watches, because we have these conversations all the time.
You look amazing.
Honey, you see that? This is me supporting a brilliant, amazing African artist, designer, culture creator, Asiatu Kaita, who this is called, her line here is Bell Ready to Wear. So Bell _ RTW, I think is the handle. You have to get, when I tell you it took me 2 seconds to do this, like, and however, anything that you do to manipulate it is brilliant and beautiful. So I have my bun, but
it looks great.
I'm trying to tell you, she keeps the crown
sealed.
Yeah.
So if you want to get your Gaylays, I'll drop her information down below, guys.
Yeah.
So Jay,
yes, darling.
Meeting you was so amazing. Like from the jump, you were so enigmatic, so passionate about business, about finance, about just everything about the motherland. I just really want you to tell us a little bit about yourself right now before we go into my questions where I'm going to be digging.
Okay, Lord. Well, my name is Marcel Lashley Kabore. I am an Afro-Indo-Portuguese Caribbean diasporic woman who went to Africa for the first time in 2013. And since then, I have been throughout the continent 22 times. I own multiple plots of land. My nonprofit that I started here in the United States, called Girls with Knowledge and Generation Wealth Knowledge, is also registered and operating as an NGO in 3 West African countries.
Really?
You said which countries?
Yes.
Oh, Ghana, Nigeria, and Burkina Faso. And my for-profit, which is ML Enterprises, is also registered it has an African affiliate that's called MLGBS, Global Business Strategist in Burkina Faso. And I also sit on the board of a US-based nonprofit called Africa Everything that provides educational empowerment to West African youth. So it's my life, right?
How do you sleep? You have a lot happening. How do you
have a very dear friend of mine, right, who told me the other day, take a picture, post it online, and the caption should be, if doing too much were a person, right? So I do too much, but I also understand that that's relative, and what's too much for you is nothing for me. So there you go.
So tell us how you got us. Tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into the finance market, how you got into doing, economic literacy. You have so many facets. Tell us a little bit about that backstory before we move on to the meat and potatoes.
Well, I mean, I do come from a family of entrepreneurs. My family hails from Guyana, South America, and Trinidad. And so I was born in Trinidad, and I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and particularly female entrepreneurs. Now, my father's a businessman, like quintessential businessman. But my grandmother owned a hotel, in Guyana, and this is something also that you see a lot in Africa. It's not always called entrepreneurism because we don't necessarily take the steps to register a business, but we're in market. We're selling in the market, right?
Yes.
It's a businesswoman, but I do come from a family of entrepreneurs. And once we migrated to the United States, we continued that. And with entrepreneurship, you're going to learn about money. You're going to know about money. Money is the goal, and even though I did not go, when I studied in college and in higher education, even though I went to CEIBS, international business school to study global business, and that took me around the world studying in different countries, China, Africa, Israel, Switzerland. Even though I had that experience and formal teaching of economics and microeconomics and macroeconomics, for me, it was really the involvement that I had in Exposure Foundation, right? And the CEO of Exposure Foundation is Raymond L. Thomas Jr. And it was really, the Exposure program teaches financial literacy to young people. Teaches finance, like literally they have 5-year-olds and kindergartners and first graders who have stock accounts, who invest in Apple, who invest in,
I love that.
Fractional shares, right? But they teach you how, and so being able to grow an organization like that with and in support and alongside Ray Thomas has really kind of allowed me to have this really stable foundation and infrastructure of financial literacy, and doing it on like the micro, like the basic level. And when I say basic, I don't mean basic, but I mean breaking it down so it's not intimidating.
Exactly.
Breaking it down so that it's language that you understand. You're talking about the stock market. People get scared when you start talking about dividends and ticker symbols. And it's like, I don't even understand all that. But the fact of the matter is, it is intentionally set up for us not to understand. It is intentionally set up for us to intimidate us, right?
Exactly.
We can break that language down to the lowest common denominator and maximize our earning potential and multiply our streams of income and create generational wealth. And so that's the wave I'm on. And I lead by example. My portfolio, darling. My portfolio.
Let us get into the meat and potatoes of this. So there's a gold rush. Everybody's rushing to Africa, different parts of West Africa, reclaiming themselves. And I want to go to Africa. I'm going to build Africa. I'm going to invest. I'm going to buy a home. I'm going to retire there. I'm going to meet a man. Everybody has their own.
Girl, you an African king. Get you one.
Exactly.
I got one.
So what do you think some of the first steps somebody needs to take before they decide to invest in Africa, or invest in Africa and go to that next level when it comes to business in Africa?
I think the first thing that people should understand, and I know this might sound patronizing or facetious or sarcastic, but I think one of the first things that people need to remember is that Africa is a continent and not a country, right? And so the reason I say that is because when people say, what's Africa like? Or how is it in Africa? It's a little bit like saying, how are things in North America? You know what I mean? Like, there's a vast difference between South Africa and my home in Burkina Faso, which could be considered a little less developed, right? Besides economic structure, there are traditional, religious, tribal considerations that people should have. So I would say explore, right? Literally, go. And then when you go again, and go again, and go somewhere else, right? It doesn't always, I know a lot of people like to kind of start in South Africa or in Ghana because they feel like it's safe, right? Are you going to Africa for the American experience? Or are you going to Africa for the African experience? Right? But I think the due diligence and the research, just like how there are different states and cities and communities, even in America. Listen, people in Brooklyn like Brooklyn. They don't want to be in Harlem. Harlem got a vibe. Brooklyn got a vibe. Queens got a vibe.
I'm in Harlem. I like to be in Harlem, honey.
And that's the little city, right?
Yes.
Imagine the continent like Africa. The North is not like the South. It's not like the East. It's not like the West. And then even when you are in major cities like Lagos or like, Johannesburg, Cape Town, Nairobi, just 100 miles outside of that is a vast difference. So there are dynamics and changes that you have to consider. And the best way for, I think, a person to really understand and feel where they want to be is to go, right? Don't look at what television.
You need to go and visit.
You need to go. And the thing is also, I started a initiative through my organization, Girls with Knowledge, called the Global Goddess Experience, right? Why? We call each other goddesses, which is why I'm a goddess with knowledge. And so shout out to all my goddesses, GWK. And so we have something called the Global Goddess Experience, and it's a collective of women. Again, female entrepreneurs, because that's what we're all about. And everybody has kind of a different thing to bring, right? Technology, marketing, business development, philanthropy. But we take on a legacy project in a different city, right? So we fly to that city, and we work with female-run or owned NGOs on the ground there. And we support them with the project. But the project is not, so this is like deeper than just giving a check, right? It's just like with Africa Everything, like we're on the ground doing work, right? Exactly. And so the focus for us is sustainability, because I can give you money and you can use it and you can spend it, or we can collaborate together and we can have a reciprocal exchange where I share my knowledge with you, you share your knowledge with me, and we build a plan together collectively that will help you grow and sustain your organization. You know, and so cultural immersion is basically like what the Global Goddess Experience is about. And I think that that is what people should expect to do, and not even expect, like that's what they should want to do going to whatever country, whatever city they're going to in Africa. Expect a cultural immersion, and also know you're not going to rescue nobody. Like that colonialism shit, can I cuss? Colonialism? We're not going, I didn't go to Africa the first time. Actually, to be honest, I did. I think the first time I went to Africa in 2013, I went to Tanzania, Arusha, and I was building for a foundation. I was building a resource center, a community resource center, and a library for an orphanage. I was like, I'm going to Africa. I'm going to help. Child, I got more from them people than they got from me. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, there has not been a time that I've stepped foot on the continent. There has not been a time that I have stepped foot on the continent and it has not given me life. Yes. You know what I mean? And I have not become a richer, wealthier in my mind, body, and spirit person than anything that I could have contributed. So I think the other thing that a person should be mindful of when they do decide to go, you're not going to rescue nobody. If anything, you might get your life. Exactly.
Tell them about that. So let's talk about, if let's say somebody does, I've visited Africa a couple of times, and now I'm ready to start my business in Africa and everything. What are some things they need to really do before they kind of jump right in? And how much do you think it will take for somebody to start a business in Africa?
Okay.
Two-part question, right?
Two-part question. One of the things that I think that anyone should do is a demographic study, so to speak. Like, that sounds deep, but it's like, okay, now that you've finally decided that you're going to go and you've gone a few places and there's a place that kind of that you connect with, like, I love this place here. Fine. Yeah. But you need to do research on the environment that you are in, the city. You know, Africa is about 16.7% of the world's population, right? And it's with the median age of only 19 years old, right? Like the median, very young, very young. Africa's rising. And even when you talk about generational wealth, that is prime for generational wealth, for us diasporians to collectively come together and establish generational wealth. When you think about the fact that in the next 40 years, we're expecting the population to increase by 85%, you know, in Africa, like, so I think that one of the first things you have to do is understand the environment that you're looking to invest in, understand the needs of the environment, understand the infrastructure of the environment, the resources that exist within that environment. You do the same type of demographic study that you would do here or anywhere if you're establishing a business. Exactly. You know, and even competitive research or whatever, but we ain't worried about the competition because it's not about competition, it's about collaboration, right? But it's more so than anything. And I think, I don't like the terminology not-for-profit because I run my nonprofits as for-profits because they need to be profitable. Yes. I need them to make money. It's not for me, right? The money that I need them to make is for continuing the mission, but still I need them to be profitable. So when you're looking to put together a business structure to become profitable, you want to make sure that you're providing a need for you're providing a service for a need. It's the same supply and demand. What is the need that exists here? What is the solution that I'm creating and providing for this need?
Yes.
So
say that again. What is the need? I repeat that because this is very important.
What is the need? What is the need? What is the problem? What is the issue? What is the gap? What is the deficit? Whatever that is, what solution am I creating to satisfy that? Absolutely. Right? Again, we can't just always come thinking like, oh, this works in America, so it'll work there. It might not. You got to make it, you got to make it fit. It's not one size. Africa is not one size fits all.
Please.
It's not one size fits all, right? So we got to curate the magic that's needed for the kings and queens of that particular area that you're going to serve.
Exactly. And so how much do you think it will take? Meaning, because you still have to do paperwork in Africa. Like, we discussed this. You got to do paperwork. You got to, the bureaucracy. There's bureaucracy in Africa. I know that as an African. There's a lot of red tape as well. How much money do you think somebody could comfortably kind of invest in the business? I know you can't really say, let's say, for instance, let me give you an example, a shea butter business, right? They want to create their own shea butters, right? Whatever. That's the simplistic, or real estate. Like, there's so many different business options. What would you say? Comfortably. This is hypothesis.
Yeah, it's hard, right? Mm-hmm. And the reason I'm saying that is because and this goes back to the research and knowing the environment that you're in. I love that. Mm-hmm. There are certain things that are just on lock, right? Mm-hmm. I know I studied when I was at Seeds, we studied at the Ghana Stock Exchange, but we also studied at the cocoa farms.
Yes.
And understanding that like Africa produces 85% of the world's cocoa, which turns into, of course, chocolate and this and that, but it doesn't count in the GDP, right? No, it doesn't count in the GDP because the way the GDP is calculated is by a finished product. So when you take a natural resource and you ship it outside, and then that country takes it and makes it a finished product like chocolate, they make it counts against their GDP, not ours.
Are you freaking serious? I know you.
Yes. We've been doing it wrong. And listen, we know that corruption exists here, there, everywhere, right? We know that. But what has been a disservice to us and some of our former leaders is really only thinking about themselves and their families and creating these contracts that are like long-term 100-year contracts where the particular country can be exploited that way. So there's like nothing. So I know, particularly in Ghana, it's very hard to try to get into you have to have the connections, the political connections, to be able to try to get into like the shea butter business, or to get into the cocoa butter business. So there is a lot of that. But just like we say here, your network is your net worth. Yeah. It's the same there. You want to go.
Your network is your network.
You want to make the right connections. You want to form the right relationships, right? And that is part of what is going to be very helpful. The other thing that's going to be helpful is patience. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be, because there are rules, but there are also no rules. Just because, in America, it's like, we said it was 72 hours. The 73rd hour, we're like, where is it? This is not right. No. That doesn't work there. So if it's 72 hours, 72 might be 140 something hours. It's, you know what I mean? Like, it could be patient. And I'm not saying that because it's that way that it's right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. It will get better. Yeah. But again, don't, go wilding out in the people in them country. Don't, understand that it takes time.
Yes.
To create new systems. It takes time to create change.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So there's a big trend. There's a lot of YouTubers that are saying that they're going to invest people's money, or create businesses, or buy land for people.
Heard about that.
And it's like some of them are scamming people, right? Mm-hmm. So what would be an advice for a diasporian that says, okay, I want to buy a home, or I want to start a chicken farm? I saw somebody here said they have a farm in Ghana. How are you doing? Welcome, everybody.
You got a farm for you, sis, with your farm in Ghana. Drop that. They could drop a link or something, right?
Drop the link or something. Yeah,
Drop that link.
My oldest son created a farm.
Fantastic.
So there's that thing that's happening with the investment in Africa. People are falling for tricksters and white noise. But as a businesswoman, what do you advise people that do want to invest or buy property or land to do beforehand, because they're falling into these like scams?
I mean, again, I'm going back to due diligence, right?
Yes.
If you're going there and you're going there consistently, then you're also building a network and building relationships. That doesn't mean that the closest person to you there can't scam you, right? Because depending on where you're coming from, it's dollar signs, right? Even when I go home to Burkina, I get so frustrated sometimes. So quick story. Last week I was in Burkina. I was in 4 countries the past 10 days, 3 different time zones. But when I was in Burkina, I wanted to buy some bicycles for some of the girls in our program, right? And I'm, getting out the truck because I feel like I'm Burkina Bay, like I'm a Kabore, right? So I'm getting out the truck and I'm looking at the bicycles, and the minute that the guy saw me, the price doubled. And my husband was like, "Babe, can you just go back in the car? Just go back in the car, just sit, just let me negotiate." They already doubled the price for him because he looks American. Yes. But then when he starts to speak and you hear the More and they know that he's Burkina Bay, he has a little bit more room. But like me, the minute you see me,
dollar signs.
Yeah. So that's what little Joe. What's that Joe say? My price yesterday's price ain't today's price. That's how they see me. When they see me, they be like, "Oh, that was yesterday's price. Exactly. Today's price has gone up." So it doesn't mean that just because you're on ground that you can't be taken advantage of. But for me, I'm a relationship builder. Right. And part of building relationships and even doing business for me, and this is something I incorporate in our curriculum, right? Our financial literacy curriculum. I also incorporate it in my daily life. I got to trust my intuition. Right. And what happens is, from relationships to business deals, I got to see how it feels. Sometimes it doesn't feel right. Don't do anything desperate. Don't operate with desperation. You really, really want this land. If you really, really want this land, you're going to ignore the feelings that you have in your stomach that is just not right because it's just not working out. Land in Africa ain't like that, right? The government, particularly in the city, has no jurisdiction on land in the village. You got to go see the king. You got to go see the elders. You got to go see the chiefs. It ain't like that. So when you understand that, because you're doing your due diligence and you're researching and you understand, again, the cultural nuances that exist, then you're going to know how to move.
Because even in Ghana, I don't know if a lot of people know that in Ghana, you can only get land for 99 or 60 something years. And it doesn't ever really belong to you.
It's leased land. It's leased land. It's the same with the land that we have in Guyana in South America, my dad's land. It's, it's our land, but it's leased land because in Guyana, they know that there may be oil down below. Same thing with Africa, right? Oil is one of the greatest natural resources. And so the government is not just going to allow you to own that. When they're ready to drill because they might know that there's oil below, that oil belongs to the country. It don't belong to you. That's not your land. You lease this land. It belongs to us. This is our oil.
Really great, like you said, really to do your due diligence and find out your information beforehand, and it's okay to if you get enamored, because people have not even visited the country yet and they're spending money to buy land. Can you imagine? Or to do businesses. I have to see my own eye before I invest in anything. So it's imperative that you or a representative that is really close to you goes on land to see what's happening.
And even with that, let me tell you, again, part of the 22 times going back and forth is because of that. My husband and I just don't rely on family and friends and everybody to manage our affairs.
Exactly.
You know how it gets a little bit when you feel like you might not have enough and that person has so much, and you start to feel like you could skim a little bit off the top because it won't hurt them, right? Or whatever, or you cut corners or, for whatever reason. I'm not saying that people don't have integrity. I'm saying human nature, circumstances, desperation, you see it all the time. Okay. And so for us, I believe if someone wants to invest in Africa, they need to be prepared to go consistently. It doesn't have to be that you're there every 3 months. You set up an infrastructure on the ground of people that you trust. You set up a system that you can monitor, and then and that's digital, right? And then you frequently visit, and you make it so that they know she's coming or he's coming or they're watching, or, and listen, our Lebanese, our Indian, our Chinese, our Caucasian brothers and sisters do it all the time. They've been doing it for years. It can be done.
Yeah.
Right? The difference might be that they have a little more money to invest, so they can build in loss prevention, right? They build in the budget for corruption. They build in the budget to grease palms so that they can get a license or something a little bit faster. Yeah. So again, the great thing, or the double negative, is there are rules in Africa, but anything goes, right? He who has the goal makes the rules. So, if you've got enough gold, you can make some rules.
And I know you don't like to talk about, but let's scratch a little bit on this corruption. I have to. Because has corruption impeded, because this is the problem in Africa. We're going to call a spade a spade. Corruption happens, and it happens on huge form. That's why a lot of people get turned away from doing business in some African countries, right?
The corruption that happens there is the same corruption that happens here. It just looks different. And because it looks different, it's been created as a bigger monster. If we don't think that there's a corrupt society living within our superpower nation.
Oh, we're very corrupt. Oh, we are.
Yeah. So for the focus to be on corruption, okay, fine. But where does that not exist? You can't see it as blatantly here because of the disparity. That's the problem, right? The problem is that Africa is not poor. Right? There's a huge wealth disparity, and clearly there are communities and families that have unacceptable levels of poverty. But there's also great wealth. And I always tell people, I've been fortunate enough to be raised in Atlanta, and I grew up seeing, I grew up in amazing communities, gated communities. I've seen, Black people driving Bentleys, that's how it was growing up. So Black wealth is not anything that is new to my eyes. However, the way I've seen wealth in Africa, this is what makes corruption a real issue, because you see that there's such a massive disparity. How is it that you could have this palatial estate here, literally 20,000 square foot, gates, guards, and then you have
Bugatti.
You know what I mean? And then you have the complete opposite over here in babies begging. This is the problem. This is why the corruption is such a big issue, a big matter. So the corruption does exist, but I will say that it's different everywhere. Every government, and again, this is why you have to go and you have to understand that, how it is in Rwanda is different from how it is in Uganda. You know what I mean? You have to understand the presidency and how that cabinet is being run. There are some places where I've seen it and it's blatant, and they can get you at the airport where it's what do you have for me now? What did you bring for me? And there's some places where they wouldn't dare do that.
Exactly. So it depends on the country sometimes too. Yeah. That's why you said it's good to go to different countries. So what are some of the businesses you've started in Africa? Tell us a little bit about some of the
the only thing that I'm doing in Africa myself is my nonprofit, as far as economic empowerment and entrepreneurship for girls. Really providing platforms of empowerment through education, access, opportunity, and having that move to action. So again, I feel for venture capitalists, Africa is a blind spot that they're not even paying attention to.
Talk about that.
Because fueled by a young, right? We talked about the median age being 19, a young, rapidly urbanizing population. Africa is not only one of the fastest growing continents on the planet, but it's the only region where more women than men choose to become entrepreneurs. right?
Yes.
The difference, though, or the similarity, and I think it's one of the reasons why I'm really passionate about doing this here and also doing it there, is just like here in America, where we have an abundance of women-owned businesses, the access to capital is not there.
Yes.
Right? The access for women. The access to capital is not there for women. It's not here for women, and the access to capital is not there for women to support our businesses. So there are plenty of boss women in Africa, but you're typically somebody's wife or mistress, right? Okay, so and you know what? Shout out to everybody who is doing it big in Africa. All the women who are not somebody's wife and not somebody's mistress. I don't want to generalize, but I do want to say. So with my foundation, what I've really been focused on is being able to create an infrastructure where, again, women leaders can mentor and empower other young budding entrepreneurs. And even, what I would love to do is be able to grow a fund to essentially become a venture capitalist so I can invest in these businesses with no strings. You don't got to sit with me. You don't got to sit with me. I don't want to take half your business. I just want to see you thrive. And I want us to do it together. And this is us building generational wealth. And this is like for the culture,
Exactly.
So I've been doing that. But again, we do have for our for-profit, we have MLGBS, which is right now it's in Burkina Faso. I'm sure it will be expanding. If I know Monsieur Kabore, it's going to expand. But right now the focus is in Burkina Faso for global business strategy. Right. And consulting, communications, all of that. We've been doing that. It's been really, really great and well received.
Amazing. And also you have land. You didn't talk about you buy.
Wait a minute. Why we got to listen, Aisha.
That business, land is business.
I'm private. I'm not trying to put all my business out there. I told y'all in my intro I got a little something, so I'm official. But I ain't trying to put all my business out there. I do have land. Land for me is a little bit different because I have land rights through marriage. I have land rights through marriage, and I have land through nationalism.
Yes.
Say it like that. And so when you are a nationalist, or when you have nationality and you have family ties, it is a lot easier. And I mean, I'm not saying everybody should go to a particular country and get a passport or whatever. But I know in particular with Ghana, what's really important, especially establishing nationality, is what are you bringing? What are you contributing? You know what I mean? And so that is one of the things that, again, in my work and in my efforts, I've been able to, prove. Again, my Africa history is not yesterday. I didn't jump on. Not that there's anything wrong with the year of the return.
The newbie.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. If you go home, boo. It's fine. But it wasn't like the trend of, it's the year of the return, we're going to party it up, in Africa like we do in America. No, and I'm not saying that. It's so shady. Can you edit that out?
No. We're not editing it out.
But
so something you said when we had our earlier conversation that stood out to me is that sometimes we're rushing to Africa to create our own businesses and create our own things, but there are people there already creating their own businesses that need support, that have, be it tech, be it commerce, be it food, be it land. Like some people already have the businesses growing. They already have the paperwork. What do you think about investing in people that are on the ground that already started their own businesses?
That's what I do. Yeah. That's the passion I have, right? Yeah. And that when I talk about Africa not being poor, I am not just talking about, and anybody that knows through my curriculum, that when I talk about wealth, I am not just talking about riches and money, right? Wealth is a mindset, and there's so much that goes into wealth. Health is wealth, right? But there is also great ingenuity already on the ground, right? And even if we're being real, when we look at education and the stats and the culture and how education is not even an option. You're gonna go to school and you're gonna be a doctor, you're gonna be a lawyer, you're gonna be an engineer. There's no option. You have to be the best of the best. And you're going to Harvard, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if you can. And so there is brilliance already there. And that was kind of what I was talking about or referring to earlier when I said, do not attempt to go with a colonizer spirit as though you have some sort of greatness. You do have your own greatness, right? Operate in your greatness, but don't think you're going to rescue. What we're going to do is collaborate, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring all of me and I'm going to meet you, and the fact that you have all of you, and we're going to come together and we're going to grow together as a collective, as diasporans. Exactly. That is what I'm talking about, in opposition to being like, oh, they don't got no whatever, I'm going to go there. You know what I mean? And so there is great brilliance. I'll tell you that I've seen Africans create solutions like that, right? I have seen, I've seen the brilliance, and I've said to myself, like, we don't even do this in the States. Why don't we do this? Like, I have said that, right? Like, yo, we need this in America. The way that they're doing this, like, quick, fast, or the way that they're able to just like MacGyver something, and the brilliance is there. The brilliance is there. There may need to be a thought partnership and cultivation and collaboration, and I believe that that's what we can bring. And it doesn't mean that there isn't. It doesn't mean that there isn't innovations, that there aren't innovations that exist here that we can still take. I'm just saying, don't take them with a mentality that we're going to rescue our brothers and sisters. That's what I mean. But yeah, no, there's absolute brilliance. Wonderful businesses, wonderful. Listen, again, I am really big on that. My sister-in-law, we've been working with her. She has this amazing soap company. And she literally, when I tell you, she just, turning away. What? Will leave her job, come home, and immediately just start making, because she's got customers and so I looked at her and I was like, sis, I got to invest in you. I have to, like the diligence and and so I just feel like there is a lot of that. So sometimes even when you're thinking about investing in Africa, it may not even be that you need to come up with an idea, just be on the ground. That's a part of the discovery process. It's a part of the due diligence. Be on the ground. Go. The idea that you have about Africa when you're here will change when you get there.
That's it. That's even me. Like when I'm gonna do a business in Africa, it's gonna be something that's already existing, something that I believe in and that I'm gonna like. That I can say that it goes on and there's diligence on the person, because if they're already doing their thing and they've created their own labeling, they've created their own product, and they're pushing it, all I can do is improve maybe the labeling, improve the bottling, and invest in that and try and sell it to bigger places.
And that's all I've been doing, right? With her, we go back and forth, and I'm like, okay, let's see equipment. Let's see how I can get you some equipment, because then you can have more efficiency and you can create, you can produce more. Exactly. Let's look at the bottling. Let's look at the labeling. And this is really like MLGBS is part of like what the business development and the strategy and all of that. That's what MLGBS has been doing in Burkina, but it's just an enhancement. I'm not there to try to take over her business and change it at all. I'm giving a perspective as far as like, okay, well, the labeling, what was your thought behind it? Because I'm a strategist, right? So sometimes there isn't a thought. It's just like, I just did it. And she'll say to me, I don't really like it. The person that did it for me, this is what they did, so this is what I used. Okay, no problem. So yeah, it's
about empowering. I mean,
it's about empowering, and it actually took the load off of me, because I'm always like, okay, what can I create? What should I do? What is the solution that I need to? She already has a solution. He already has a solution. They need capital, and they need thought partnership and collaboration and consultation and ideas, to kind of go back and forth with. They already have the solution. They've been creating the solution. They've been living, the problem to be an expert on the solution.
Exactly. So I'm going to ask you this question, because you did train with in China. What do you think about the China invasion in Africa? I'm going to ask about that, because you know how I feel about it.
Well, I did. I did study in China, and I still have my China connection. It's so funny because I literally was in China when like COVID broke out. But anyway, there is a plan, and China is sticking to their plan, right? That is just what it is, and you can't be mad for any nation that has a plan. If anything, we should take notes, right? I think even here, we have been so caught up in the war of the parties, you know, and you know how, just like how it is in a family, if you can't even get your shit together, like so China is focused on world domination. And China is empowering their people because they realize if our people are empowered, this is going to enhance and help us achieve world domination. Right? One belt, one road. That's the master plan. And so what happens in Africa is there is a new school or a Chinese way of colonialism, which is not the way the British or the French or even, the Americans did it. It's more of, hey, you need a hospital. I'm going to build a hospital. We're going to build a state-of-the-art medical center with this technology, You don't have to do anything except give us this land to build it. Give us this infrastructure for 99 years. And this is what I was talking about when I was saying that the leadership in the government, sometimes there are negotiations that some of our former leaders have made that benefit them. And they're not thinking about a generational mindset and how this will affect the people and the country and the growth 100 years from now, because you'll be dead. Right? You're just thinking about you being able to provide for your kids, have the biggest house, have the biggest mansion, have the armored guards, have all the, you're just thinking about that. And so there have been some deals that have been made that have been in direct support of China's master plan to build this one belt, one road throughout the world to achieve world domination. And so I think that if I am so blessed, I believe that I'm so blessed to have had that Chinese perspective, right? To be able to have been there and to have so many friends and colleagues and business people who, are there in Shanghai and in Beijing and in Wuhan. Well, I don't have friends in Wuhan, but still, in Guangzhou. Why?
Oh God, I can't with you. Go ahead.
But I must have. I am, and and even in Korea and in Taiwan, to have friends who are able to share their perspective from a sincere place. Sometimes we have to do it outside of China. So, like again, our cohort traveled to different countries, and so that's when they could have conversations because everything is monitored, right? So I went to not even thinking and I didn't download a VPN, but I'm in China. I'm trying to access my Google, my Gmail, blocked. You know what I mean? Blocked. So your conversation, there's monitoring. And so some of these conversations that we have and some of the insight that I have had to be acquired outside of the territory of China in order to really understand it, just to make sure that nobody gets around.
We better watch out and start investing in our own Africa, because if somebody else will take over Africa, y'all.
Imagine if we built our own one belt, one road.
Imagine. If we put our money together.
If we talk about the fact that we built everything, right? We built the White House. We can build our own belt and road and have our own world domination. Or we don't even need world domination. We can just dominate our continent. Take our continent back. Can we take our continent back? I really get frustrated when I go and when the best of something is owned by someone Lebanese or owned by someone Indian or owned by someone Chinese. And it's not that I have, and it's part of why I kind of started by look, I'm an Afro-Indo-Portuguese, Caribbean, gumbo, all this gumbo, but I'm African. You know what I mean? And so I don't have a problem with anybody else, getting their bag. I do have a problem when you're getting your bag because you're raping my people or you're getting your bag on the backs of my people. I got a problem, right? It's a family problem. And so at the same time, I'm saying to the rest of my family, where you at? Let's go.
Yeah.
I get tired. 2013, not now so much, but 2013 when I was in Dar es Salaam, they kept saying, why don't our African American brothers and sisters come home? Why don't they? NGOs and foundations are run by not us.
Yes.
Right? And so while I'm grateful for the work that's being done on the ground and the help that it is providing, the support that it's providing to communities, I am a little fatigued by the fact that it still seems like colonialism, because the people who are receiving the help worship the giver, and the giver doesn't look like them.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? And so I'm like, so that's why it's so important for me. Like, at first it was like, I'm not going to start my NGO everywhere. I'm just going to go and I'm going to help support people who are already on the ground. I'm still going to do that. But I think it's very important for me to continue to grow my NGO in various countries, because they need to see African Americans, they need to see Afro-Caribbeans, they need to see diasporans.
Even Africans coming back, you know, like everything.
Right. They need to see returnees coming in and contributing in that way. We're helping each other. It's self-sufficiency.
Yes.
It's the same thing that we need here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that this is a historical, I don't know, that like they talk about, like we've been broken down, that we don't understand that working together is the only way. Because a lot of these other countries, they might not like each other, hate each other, but they know how to work together. And we as people of color, Black people, let me just say it, African Americans, African, UK, whatever, we don't know how to work together. And how can we even better understand the concept of working together?
Listen, I have this joke that my best friend and I share, where I say it's all because of racism, right? Yeah, it's all because of racism, all because of colonialism. But the fact is that for so long, there's only been enough for one. There's only been a few crumbs. A couple of crumbs have been dropped. And so it's created this dichotomy or this relationship of us having to fight over that one crumb. It's either you're going to get it or I'm going to get it. You know what I mean? And so now it's really us unlearning and relearning and being strategic about it, where we're like, oh, you see this one crumb? Come, let's get together. How are we going to make this one crumb?
Share it.
You know what I mean? So in our curriculum in GWK and Generation Wealth Knowledge, there is this young man by the name of Derek Grace. I don't know who he is, but he created a board game called In-Home Banking. And we use both in-home banking and Monopoly in our curriculum, because Monopoly, and I'll tell people all the time, and I probably should find a real name for this so that nobody like puts me in a category or lumps me in or plays this sound bite back. And when I want to be president one day of somebody's something, they're like, oh, you are this. But I feel like I am, as an economic empowerment specialist, there is part of me that's capitalist, but there's also a huge part of me that is socialist, right? Okay. And so, you know, I sit in the center of that, but Monopoly teaches you capitalism. Right? When I tell you I'm the Monopoly queen, like I'm gonna dominate the board, I'm gonna own everything on the board, like, you know what I mean? Like, but in home banking, before you even start the game, you collectively create the rules. Because the goal is not to dominate each other. The goal is to come together and dominate the system. So it literally is, we do have a need to unlearn and relearn. What we know now is because of slavery. What we know now is because of colonialism. What we know now is marginalization, right?
Yes.
We have to unlearn that and create our own shit and relearn that.
Boom. Say it again. So before we go to the top 5 questions,
we're not finished. How much longer we got with this thing?
We're not finished. First, I want to ask you, you've traveled to a couple of African countries.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a controversial question. What is your favorite African dish and where is it from?
Oh!
And don't say Burkina because it's your husband's where your husband is from.
Hey! My favorite African dish. Are you ready for the wahala? Okay, so I won't say this is my favorite African dish, but my favorite jollof rice is Senegalese jollof. Boom! Come for me, Niger. Come for me, Ghana. Come for me, Glitter. I'm trying to tell you, y'all need to stop fighting with your tomato-based rice.
I have a very combative guest on now, guys, because she just came for me. Okay, she just came for Nigeria jollof, and she knows that's a soft spot for me. But you know what? I will let you be with your Senegalese broken rice.
Broken rice is good. Half the carbs.
Unapologetic Negropian is here. How are you doing?
Huh?
Unapologetic. One of my favorite YouTubers is on here. So.
I need somebody Senegalese to get in the chat and co-sign what I'm saying right now, please.
Well, nobody co-sign that.
Man, next time Senegalese
before we go, I want you to give me 5 steps to investing in Africa. 5 steps. 5 strong steps before somebody goes and give their money to one person on YouTube that said, "Oh, please invest in my business," and you invest in my business, and then they gag when they can't find the person anymore. 5 steps to investing in Africa. We talked a whole lot before, but I need 5 steps.
Listen, those steps are there in the conversation. The first step is to understand your environment, is to go, right? Your first step is to go. It is to explore. Right. Your second step is to, once you've now put down your roots, I think you need to really assess the needs of where you are and where you have decided. Not just like, oh, what do they need that I can bring, but also how do they move? How do they maneuver? What's the government like? Like, you got to do your research, right? The third thing I'll say is come with your bag. It's not that you need, it's not that you need a whole lot, because our money goes so far there. But that's it. Like, come with your bag, right?
Don't come empty-handed.
Don't come empty-handed. Don't do it. Please, okay, go back.
Number 4.
What's number 4? Bring some innovation, but bring that innovation with the mindset of reciprocation. Again, we're not going to rescue nobody. We're going to collaborate. Yes. We're going to work together to create generational wealth and to build this amazing, brilliant, rich nation that we have a land right to. That our ancestors, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Our ancestors are calling us back home. Like we're going to do that, right? We're not going to rescue nobody.
Yes.
What's that? 5? What's 5?
Number 5. You mentioned something we talked about on the phone, that different parts of Africa, because of religion, have different things. Remember you said that to me?
I did. I mentioned that here. You're not listening to me, but it's fine.
Okay. I'm listening.
No, well, and that's also part of the needs, but in part of knowing the environment and learning culturally, the traditions, the religions. But I think, dang, I had a number 5.
What's your number 5?
I don't know. I lost it when you asked me that question.
Because you emailed that Senegalese jollof, girl. That's why you forgot.
Okay, my number 5 is be mindful, again, of the continent and of all the natural resources and how they exist within the environment that you're in. So again, there's healthcare needs, there's agricultural needs, there's energy needs, there's water. You know what I mean? Like there's so many different things. Education. It depends on what village are you in. What do they make? Do they make carpet? Like what do they have? You know? And so think about that and think about how you can enhance that. Because there's nothing wrong with, and again, this is kind of me coming from a place of socialist and capitalist, there's nothing wrong with making money.
No.
We're just not raping people to do it. No. And we're also taking that money and we're helping to build our community. We're reinvesting in ourselves. The number one thing that we teach in GWK and in exposure is that you are your most important bill. So we're starting first with investing in ourselves, and then we're using that profit, you know, to reinvest not only in our businesses, but in our community. And so there's nothing wrong with going there to look to make money, but make money and reinvest in that community so we can close that disparity. We can close that gap. That's the goal, right? Everybody want to be rich. Why we can't all be rich? Why we got to be like this? You know what I mean?
Somebody just said, please, Fiji just said, please stop the jollof wars. We all need peace in the world. Do anything? We're going to stop. DJ Biren is here too.
Hey, my francophone brother. That's what I'm talking about. He knows the Senegalese jollof is better too. He knows.
I mean, it's good. It's my third favorite.
Oh, sorry. That's one thing that we have to also remember, right? And again, about the culture. Like a lot of times, I had a friend who was saying to me a couple of days ago, she really wants to go to Africa, but she was like, I don't know if I could really maneuver in the French-speaking countries. You know, so understanding that there is francophone, and there's a vast difference in culture. There's a vast difference, you know, but don't be afraid of that. I mean, get you some Babel and learn some French, you know.
And also Tanzania, Kenya, you know, East Africa.
Learn some Swahili.
Yes.
like learn something. Learn.
We have a lot of these apps now that you can just talk into it and it speaks the language for you.
I mean, yeah, or you know, translation apps, absolutely, and maybe not like a tribal language, but listen, don't allow. There's just something about love and something about money and something about all these universal languages that somehow we understand each other.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? We'll understand each other. So yeah.
So Jay, where can they reach you if they have more questions? We're probably gonna have a part 2 to this, guys, where we let you guys come in and ask her direct questions for if you want to invest, if you don't. So that will be coming in the future. We're gonna have because I think that we need a part 2 to this, because I'm sure people had questions that they want to ask about investing, because there's a lot, and I really want people to understand. Unapologetic is here. He actually does a lot of shows about these scammers that are scamming Africans and people in diaspora of their monies to invest. And he has a company now, Oversight, that is working on different things.
Fantastic.
Like literally, like how do we invest and invest right? So we're gonna have you guys come in and do that.
Break it down.
How can they reach you?
Huh?
How can they reach you? Where can they reach you?
Well, first of all,
websites, everything.
Yes, before they reach me, I want to say, back to the food question.
Yeah.
The one thing that I must say is that there is nowhere in the world, I don't eat chicken in America, but there is nowhere in the world like the poulet flambé in Burkina Faso. And I did not say it because you were like, don't just talk about Burkina Faso. I wanted to talk about like the Senegalese jollof is a thing. But honestly, poulet flambé in Burkina Faso is, everybody in my family just calls me poulet flambé because they know.
Poulet flambé.
Poulet flambé.
That's made on the fire. That's chicken made on the grill. Honey.
Yes, honey. But it's a whole different.
My small French.
Your small French. You can reach me at Goddess with Knowledge. That's my handle on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. Please follow my foundation, Girls with Knowledge. Also, Generation Wealth Knowledge. Email address is the same, girlswithknowledge.org. I try to keep it real simple for y'all, right? Like I don't try to be scata, but just you know. Also, it's J Marcel. Oh, actually, I changed it now. It's not J Marcel anymore. It is Marcel Lashley Kabore, Kabore. Marcel, Marcelle, Lashley, LASH.
Marcel's going to send me all our stuff and we'll drop it.
Marcel Lashley Kabore. .com if you want to check me out and know a little bit more about me. But the last thing that I'd like to say, and I told this to Glitter earlier today, for all my friends who say they got money and all of the people on social media who are securing the bag, if you really know about wealth, then you'll know that donating money to a charity is a tax shelter. Okay? Our counterparts know this. So when we are raising money for our foundations to do this great work because we're trustworthy people, why we gotta beg? Why do we have to beg? Donate your money and write it off on your taxes. Let's go. That's what I'm saying. That's the
Talk about somebody with a bag. T Manny's here. T Manny says,
celebrate your music.
T Manny, you guys download his music. He said, have you ever had chicken in South Africa? Chicken and pop.
Chicken, Bry in South Africa.
That's biryani. Is that Indian?
No, it's made on wood. It's chicken made on wood. It's good. Okay. Yeah, I have. But poulet flambé. No, I'm just saying. Yeah, no.
I'm gonna say Burkina Faso.
Honestly, I'll be honest.
I saw her in Nigeria eating Nigeria jollof, but we will not say nothing here.
I will say this: the meat, grilled meat around the continent is where it's at. Grilled meat around the continent. The fact that we can, I feel like that show that they were doing about food and whatever it was called on Netflix. I feel like we need to do that with meats and see how like jerk is like suya, is like nyama choma in East Africa. Like the grilled meats around the continent. Just eat your way around
the continent. Thank you so much for being here, Jay Marcel.
My darling.
We're going to do a part 2 to this because we want to invest and take back our Africa.
We're taking it back. Africa's rising. Africa's rising, baby.
Thank you so much, Jay.
Thank you. Love you, babe. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks for stopping by, everybody. It was really, really amazing to have Jay on here. And remember, we build together. That is the one thing that I'm saying. We build together, one Africa. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, hit the like icon. And we're bringing more diaspora leaders to talk about what they do, how they champion the industry, and so on and so forth. I look forward to seeing you guys soon. It's Glitter. Bye-bye, guys.